Hello and welcome to Catalyze Music Academy. My name is Zaak Kerstetter. I'm an Ableton Certified Trainer. And today I want to switch gears from what I have been doing on this channel, which has mostly been focusing on pretty quick, bite-sized, 5-minute tips and tricks kind of videos on things I think are interesting in live. And I want to take a little bit more of a deep dive into something that's a little bit farther off of the beaten path, but I think not a lot of people are talking about, and I think it's worth checking into, which is how to create custom visuals that respond to music inside of live. So first off, just a bit of a warning, if you are sensitive to lots of like flashing lights and things like that, this is probably not the video for you, and I would recommend probably checking out one of my other videos. However, if you're like me and you like really kind of crazy, over the top, really intense visuals and you want to learn how to make them yourself from scratch, this is the right place. So if you want to make something that looks a little bit like this, or a little bit like this. Also keep in mind, you don't need to go this over top with it. I happen to just naturally go that route with it, but you can make videos that are just cool, weird, and trippy, but are not quite as bright and as intense and over the top with it. It's totally up to you. The other thing I do want to mention is that we are going to be using Max for Live to do this. And I know for a lot of people, as soon as they hear the words Max for Live, they just don't care anymore. They're not interested. There is a bit of a learning curve with Max for Live, but I'm here to show you that it's going to be really simple and really easy, and everything you need to know will be in this video. So we're going to start off by just going to our Max for Live audio effect folder here. We're going to grab just an empty Max device, and I'm going to put this on an empty return track. You can put it wherever you want. It doesn't really matter, but I find it's easy to put on a return track. We're then going to hit this button right here. This is going to open up our Max coding window. So this is what it looks like to code inside of Max, and this is where we're going to be programming our visuals. So real quick, the 1-minute abbreviated version of how to program with Max for Live. Inside of Max, there are things called objects. This right here is an object, this right here is an object, and you connect those objects together with cables. Each object does something very specific. So this one is the plug-in. This receives audio from live and then just sends the audio out to the plug out, and that sends it back to live. We're not going to be dealing with these. We're going to keep them here for right now, but we're not going to be touching those. If you want to make a new object, we can go up here and there's like tons of objects we can add, or you can just hit the letter N for new and you can just search for an object. So if I wanted like a dial like you get inside of Live, like a knob, I can type in live.dial. It shows up here, and then we get one of these little dials like we have inside of Live. If I'd like to connect this to another object, I'm just going to hit I for an integer object. I'm going to connect the output here to the input here. And this is the only thing you really need to know, is that the outputs are at the bottom of each object and the inputs are at the top of each object. And if you mouse over it, it tells you what that input or that output does. So if I want to take the output here and send it in here, if I try to turn this down right now, it doesn't let me, it just moves it around. So I'm going to command click into empty space. That locks everything in place. And then if I turn this dial, we can see this just sends a number here, and this just receives that number. That's it. That's everything you need to know for Max programming to make this work. So I'm just going to delete those guys. So we could start building our own stuff from scratch using lots of different objects. However, I want to make your life really easy by telling you about a set of objects called Vizzie. And these are accessible over here. So if we open this up, this basically has a bunch of different pre-built video processing objects. And you can see as I'm scrolling through here, there are tons of these. I honestly haven't used most of them. I have no idea what most of them do. Most of them, like, it tells you what it does on the title. So this one is called the colorizer. It probably adds color to it. This one's the delayer. This one is going to add delay to your video. They're pretty self-explanatory for the most part. But there's also a bunch of handy folders right here that we can use to select between different kinds of Vizzie objects. So for example, if I want to generate some, or if I want to start with some video. I can go to input, and you can see we have an audio video player. So this plays both audio and video. We have grabber. This is going to grab video from my webcam. So this is really handy if you want to do like a live stream of yourself performing. You could take that video, send it into Max, do some cool weird processing, add some color to it, make it look all trippy and weird, and then send it back out. Movie folder. So if you want to have a bunch of different movies you can switch between, you can load those up, or just player, and this will just play a video. So we'll start with this guy right here. I'm just going to click and drag it in, and we can see we have inputs on the top, and then we have an output on the bottom, and then we can start loading things up within it, basic video controls. So if I have something like this and I want to output it, I need to go to Vizzie, and we're going to go to output. We have a couple options here. We have like the viewer. This will allow us to just view the video inside of Max, but I want to grab the projector, and this will have a separate window that we can use to see our video. And let's go ahead and first grab a video. You can grab a video from anywhere on your computer. There's a bunch of built-in ones right here. So we'll grab this little kid rollerblading. We'll toss them in here. We can see we can, again, if I want to change this, I can just hit command click. I can stop it. I can play it. I can loop it. I can scrub between different parts of it. I can slow it down. Basic video stuff. And then I can connect these together. And now I have that output over here. Pretty straightforward. So from here, if I want to start processing this, I want to start making this look a little more interesting and a little cooler. Let me go ahead and delete this connection. And we'll go back into Vizzie, and maybe let's go to the effects, and we'll grab the embosser. This is going to emboss the video. And I have not tried this one recently, so we'll see how this works. I connect it to the input here, and then I connect it to the input here. And now we can see we have a green embossed video of this kid rollerblading, and I can move this around to change the color, which is kind of cool. And I can play around with it in different ways. So that's the basic concept here. So if you want to start with a video and just start putting effects on it, that's all you really need to do. I'm going to take a slightly different route because I have a specific way I want my visuals to look, but you can take any route, use any combination. I highly encourage you to take lots of different combinations of these effects and see what you can come up with. But instead of working with video, I'm going to go to generate, and there's a bunch of different ways to just generate a video signal. And there's two reasons I'm doing this. Number one, it's a little bit lighter on the CPU because I'm not doing any like video stuff. So for example, if I want like this pattern mapper, and I just connect this out here, it just generates a pattern. So it's not really doing a whole lot. It's like a kind of static pattern. It's just, in this case, some lines. I can rotate them. I can offset them. I can try out different kinds of patterns and see what I get out of it. So it's lighter on CPU. It also creates this cool kind of like trippy design, as you saw in the examples earlier, that I really like. So we're going to start with this, and we want to make this look a little bit more interesting. So we're going to go to our Vizzie effects, and we're going to do the multi-aider. This is going to allow us to add color to it because right now it's just black and white. So I'm going to connect this here. I'm going to connect this here, and now I have different colors. And I can control amounts of different colors. I can invert them, not invert them. There's lots of cool things you can do here. And again, if I play around with this, we get these cool, interesting patterns that I can play around with. But that by itself is not quite interesting enough. So I'm going to go ahead and add another effect. I go in here. I'm actually going to go to the transform folder. There's a lot of really cool stuff in here. But I'm going to grab the collider, which is going to add like a kaleidoscope effect here. And you can always move these around. So I'm going to connect this here, and all of a sudden I have a kaleidoscope version of my pattern that I can control the colors, the offset for our kaleidoscope, and we can do all kinds of stuff in here to get some interesting patterns that look like that, which is exactly stylistically what I want for this kind of thing. So just by turning these knobs, you can see we get lots of different kind of controls out of this. Great, love it, super fun. So now I want to take this and I want to start using this inside of Live because I don't want to do all of this in my Max window. I want to have control inside of Live. So there's going to be a couple step process to make this work. First thing that I want to do is save it. So I just command S to save it. So this is going to be my Vizzie test. I'll replace my old Vizzie test. So if I exit out of here, this is what I get, which is not useful for me. So what I need to do is I need to set this up in presentation mode. The other thing I need to do is hit this floating window button, and that way the projector window always stays on top. But if I want to load this in presentation mode, I'm going to select the objects I want to be in presentation mode, which is only really these three. I don't need this one at the bottom. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit add to presentation. And then I'm going to hit this button down here. This is your presentation mode button. It hides everything that you didn't add to presentation mode. And I'm going to move this up here and move this up here and move this up here like that. Hit save again. The other last thing that I need to do is, this is the part people always forget about, is I need to hit the inspector button right here. And when you hit the inspector button, it should look something like this. If you click on an object, it'll give you options for controlling the object. So click into empty space and it should show you nothing. And at the very top of the screen, you're going to get a little P in a diamond. This is the inspector for your whole patcher. Hit the all button and then scroll to the bottom. And there's going to be an option for open in presentation mode. This is really important. If you don't do this, Live won't open it in presentation mode. So click on that. And now I'm going to hit Command S to save it. And now you can see it down here inside of Live. We now have all these options, and here we have our projection, and I can start controlling this here, including doing things like MIDI mapping it, or automating it, or playing around with it and doing all the fun stuff that you want to do to something like this. So as we've seen, we have a pattern here. It's just a static pattern, which is not, it's cool, it looks cool, but I want it to move. I need it to change over time, specifically in relationship to music. Now I could do this inside of Max. However, I'm going to do it inside of Live by using our multiband template. I had a separate video that I made on the channel about how to build a multiband template. I know you can do this with phase inversion, but I'm going to be lazy and just do it with the EQ3. If you didn't see that video, basically we have 3 chains in an effect rack, one for lows, one for mids, and one for highs, and an EQ3 that's separating them out. I then am going to go to my audio effects, and I'm going to grab an envelope follower. I'm going to put one on the lows, one on the mids, and one on the highs. So the way this works is this is going to receive an audio signal from my lows, and then I can map this to any parameter that I want. So for example, if I wanted the color blue to respond to low frequencies, I could go over here while I have this map button blinking, click on blue, and now as I hit play, I have a track over here. This is the same track I used in the example at the beginning of this video. This is a track by G. Jones called Dark Artifact. This is on the track here. It's being sent to send A, where my maxforlive device is, and my send is muted, so that way I don't have to hear it. So now when I hit play, the blue color is now going to respond to the volume of the low frequencies. Which, as you can see, makes it look a lot cooler. Which is pretty cool. I'm going to give it a little bit of rise and a little bit of fall so it smooths it out a little bit and doesn't kind of jump up and down quite as much. But I can do the same thing with our mid frequencies. We'll take our mid frequencies and map that to green. So now we're going to hear both, we're going to see both green and blue. Already moving things around separately, and we'll make highs the reds. So we'll go over here like that. Which again, all of a sudden gets us something way cooler than how we started, and I can keep tweaking these settings to make it look totally different. Like that, which is pretty cool. However, it's still not moving. It's like the colors are changing and flashing, but it's not moving around at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the collider and I'm going to map those also to the lows and the mids. So we have an X offset and the Y offset. So we're going to go into the low frequencies here. And if I want to have multiple parameters mapped to a single envelope, I can click on this button right here, hit this map, and we'll map this to the X offset. Here's the thing though. right now it's going to be moving all the way up and all the way down, which is going to probably be too much movement. It's going to look a little bit too frenetic. Looks cool, but it's a little bit over the top. And I know we already is over the top, but I want to dial this in a little bit more. So instead of it going all the way from the 0 to 100%, I'm going to make this go from like, I don't know, 37% to 60%. So that way it's moving in a smaller amount, but it's still moving. And I'll do the same thing for the mid frequencies are going to trigger the Y offset. And I can adjust this range here to also be a little different. Again, we can start tweaking these settings. And we get all kinds of weird stuff right off the bat. So that's the basic concept here. Again, I'm using these specific objects, the pattern mapper, the multimedia, and the collider. You don't have to use these. You can use any combination of these objects that you want to create similar results, or could be totally different results. From here, the last major thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Max device, put it inside of a rack, and I'm going to start macro mapping controls. So controls like the multiplier is going to macro 1, the zoom is going to macro 2, rotation is going to macro 3, the pattern selector is going to macro 4, the X offset is going to pattern 5, and the Y offset is going to pattern 6. So these are just controls in Pattern Mapper that I might want to have control over. That's a different zoom. Let's map that to the same zoom. So now what I can do is, if I come up with something cool that I like, I can start using the new variations to save that. So I kind of like what this is doing. So I'm going to hit New. That's going to create a variation for me. I'll make another one here. And on this one, I'm going to tweak the settings. So say I like that, I'm going to save that as a variation. I'll make a new one. Try to come up with something cool. Like that. And then I can start jumping between my different variations. To get different ideas kind of saved in here, and I can just jump back and forth between them. And then of course you can take this entire thing, put this all in one bigger rack, and then save this, and you can use it whenever you want. So that's it. That's the concept here to start building your own custom visuals. That's at least my kind of first interpretation of this. I will make this rack available to download for you in the description below. However, this is very much like the beta version for me. There's still a lot of ins and outs and functionality that I'm tweaking before I have like a final version that I will also probably release later on. So if this is the kind of thing that is interesting for you, I would highly recommend checking out the Vizzie objects inside of Max. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it, and you don't really need to know any programming to make it work and make it look cool. You just need to be a little bit creative and have a little bit of trial and error and a little bit of experimentation. If you would like further videos about different things I end up doing with these Vizzie objects, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I'm definitely going to explore it some more, develop it a little more, and kind of see where it lands me. But I've been having a lot of fun playing with this so far. So that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed watching that. If you did, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. I release videos every Monday and Thursday. I'm going to try doing some more of these deep dive videos, as well as the quick tips and tricks videos I have been doing in the past. On top of that, feel free to check out our website, catalyzeacademy.com, for more info about classes and lessons and workshops that we offer. Again, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.